It takes like a second, and LinkedIn's yelling at me right now. It's like, you're past your scheduled time. You should have gone live 12 seconds ago. I'm like, okay, I'm trying here. Give me a break. Okay, awesome. There we go. And then I always hear myself too in my headphones on like, and it messes me up. And I stop and I'm like, because like I'm hearing what I just said like 10 seconds ago.
Oh, that's rough.
It's hard. It's
Fun.
really hard work. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not much, but it's
It's,
honestly.
that's one of my favorite quotes in the world. Like when I take out the trash, I was like, it ain't much, but it's honest work. And I always think it's just that farmer. I'm so glad that you got that reference. Amazing. Well, we are officially live on all the platforms, so I've got them up as well too. So if anybody has any questions for Noelle during this interview, please feel free to leave them there and we can try to get to them afterwards. But I wanted to thank everybody for coming today and welcome everybody to Design to Dev. This is our community interview series here at Zeppelin where we talk to cool folks who are designing and building beautiful products. And today we have with us the very lovely and talented Noelle Lansford. Noelle, if you'd like to tell us who you are, what you do, and what your day-to-day looks like, we'd love to get to know you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this. The community stuff has been really fun, so I'm excited to keep doing it. So yeah, I am a UI designer and engineer at TEKsystems, and TEKsystems does this cool thing where they kind of like pair you with a company and you're contracted there for however long the company would like to have you. So right now I'm at Nationwide Insurance through TEKsystems. Fun way to work.
You're
And
on our side.
oh, we are on your side. And so, yeah, I am working on their AI products and processes. But before that, I co-led and led a couple design systems, anywhere from like Series A to Fortune 500 businesses. So I have a strong design systems background, which has kind of led me into this more centralized position at Nationwide with their AI systems.
Amazing. Very cool. I know you maybe won't be able to speak to sort of exactly what your day-to-day looks like,
Yeah.
but if you could maybe just give us like a brief little rundown of like, these are the main things, these are the people who I work with, just to get a little insight
Yeah.
into how you work.
Yeah, that's great. I'll do my best with that. So, so I work on a centralized team. It's called like our emerging experiences team. And so really we're a really small team and we service a large design team. So the design organization at Nationwide is pretty big, lots of people in there. I don't know the exact number. I know it's a couple hundred people in the
Oh, wow.
larger design group. They're not all designers. Some are researchers, some are content people, but like they're all kind of in that group together. And so, we have a design systems team and we're kind of in partnership with them. Like we're a branch off of their team. And really what we're trying to do is keep a lookout on the horizon of the emerging technologies that are coming in through the company. We're doing a lot of work with our partners in risk mitigation. And we make resources. Sometimes it's processes with, in conjunction with a lot of other partners. And sometimes it's design artifacts. It just kind of depends on what the needs are. And so that's kind of what I like to think of our team as, is like we try to like look at what people need while they're working on something new and unfamiliar, and we try to surface answers for them.
I love that. It sort of, and of course, this is my limited knowledge of the field because I have not worked in design directly. But it almost sort of sounds like there's a little bit of design ops kind of fit in there too, of like
Yeah.
we work with people to figure out what they need in order to do their job better.
Yeah, it feels very akin to like how I talk about design systems, right? Where it's like we service the UX designers,
Yeah.
like we give them their stuff, and like we're like this weird little spot in the onion. Like we're really, really far into the onion of who we service and how it gets out into the world.
I love the onion analogy because I was a big fan of Shrek. So anytime anybody mentions that, I'm always like, has layers. I get it. I'm with you 100%. I love that. You had also mentioned too that you were a designer as well too. So I'd love to know more about sort of your background there, and see if you have any maybe core beliefs or experiences that shaped you most as a designer. What put you on this path?
Yeah, I do have a set of core beliefs as a designer. And one of them is to not say as a designer anymore. But I feel like we all get stuck doing that. We'll be like, well, as a designer. And it's like, well, you're just a person. Come on, let's talk. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about myself anyway. But yeah, like my core beliefs like in design is like, you've always got to show up with a draft. people can't see what's inside your head, because like when you design, you see the vision, and like you start to explain it, and people are like, well, what are you talking about? So you got to show up with the draft, and it's got to be tied to some sort of business success if you're working in a company. There's also designing for fun, but it's a different category. And then you've got to own your work. I feel really like I have to own my work, like not as in like a controlling way, but just like I own my successes and I own my failures. Got to do both. And then, yeah, the last one is just like, I'm not a designer or a developer, although I've done both. I'm just a person that shows up to the table with things to talk about. That's
There you go. There you go.
Like, if we get into like interdisciplinary wars, which just happens all the time in this field, it's like, okay, I get it. You're a developer, I'm a designer. What if we put that down for a second and we just talk about the project? What do you want to see happen?
I love that. I think I saw a meme the other day, and it was like the illusion of choice, and it was like one person standing in front of a hallway that had two different directions, like two different pathways to the hallway, but they all led to the same goal, which was like
Yes.
building a product. And it was like design on one side and engineering on the other side, and they were like, look, we're all working together, so let's just
we're all doing it. We're all trying to put this thing out the door.
Yeah, so let's just work together. Come on, let's figure out something that works for everybody. Let's do it. I love that. If you could point to maybe one thing, one person, maybe, who or what would be your inspiration when it comes to?
Oh man, I can't pick just one. So I love my family. I love my friends. I love my faith in my community, and I love people that do cool random things and have big dreams. And I really like David Bowie, like all those things.
There you go. If there's one person who captures all of that into one, David Bowie's a fantastic answer. So I love that. A little bit of Ziggy Stardust in here.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I know I'm pretty up to date on my references. I know. Oh, I love that. Well, cool. That was I really appreciated to get to know you a little bit on a deeper level. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. We're now moving on into a segment that I call overrated or underrated, which is where I will throw at you a myriad of terms, whether they are fonts, design ways of thinking about different processes, etc. You can tell me if you think they are underrated or overrated. And we will start off with a few fonts. So the very first font is Inter. Overrated or underrated?
I like it. I think people should use it.
There you go. There you go. What about Helvetica?
Helvetica, classic. Classic.
Overrated or underrated in your opinion?
I think a little underrated. I think a lot of people think they shouldn't use it because they think it's overrated, and I think we've hit that point where it's underrated again because
the pendulum has swung back into.
I know where you're at in history as using Helvetica.
That's honestly a great way to track like the design history of like the proliferation of how many websites and products are using a certain font. I love that. Awesome. Well, maybe we'll see an Inter resurgence in like 10 years down the road of like, hey, have y'all heard of this?
Get on it. Come on, people. Let's bring back Inter.
Everybody's like, have you heard of this font before? And everybody who's been working in the field is like, yeah, that was the only font back in 2020. I love that. And the last one is Papyrus. Overrated or underrated?
I think it's underrated because my fun fact about Papyrus, and some people know this, is it was originally made to help people with dyslexia read easier. So I think the vibes are crazy sometimes. When you have little like nicks and stuff in it, and that's a little crazy. But readability wise, it's underrated.
I love that. That is similar, I guess, origin story to Comic Sans then.
Wait a minute. Oh no, I screwed that up. It was Comic Sans. You asked me about Comic Sans last time. So we did this once before. I'm gonna ruin this. We did this once before, and you asked me Comic Sans and Papyrus, and here we are now. Don't listen to me. Put him back in the school, shove him back in the cage, in the cave. We don't need Papyrus. Put back Avatar.
I love just that perfect 180 you've done from like, I love it. It's a beautiful font.
Comic Sans is for readability. We love Comic Sans. I stand by that. But Papyrus, get it out.
I love the pack up the scroll. We're like, we're done. We don't need
We're
it.
done.
I love that. Well, that was it for our fonts. Now I'm going to move on to a few different terms or things, in the design world. Design systems, overrated or underrated?
I'm gonna put myself out there. I think a little overrated in that
Okay.
I think we tend to over-engineer them a little bit. That's
Mm.
my honest hot take. Hi, friends. I think they're over-engineered a little bit, both on the design side, mostly on the design side, honestly. So like, let's be okay with being simple. Let's bring it back. Let's get back to what we do.
Yeah, back to the basics. I like it. I like it.
Basics.
All right. Next one is naming your layers, overrated or underrated?
So I think I think it depends on who you ask. Like, I think it's underrated all the time because I love naming my layers. But if I'm honest with myself and I just like make something and no one sees it, then the layers aren't named. Like,
There you go. I feel like that's a good general consensus. Is almost like it's a good housekeeping thing to do if you're
Mhm.
working with other people,
Yeah,
but then by yourself.
it can be a form of documentation, and I always love
Yeah.
that. But if it's just me, I know what I did. And I won't know what I did like 2 months from then, but like I know what I did like 2 seconds ago.
There you go. There you go. All good. And the very last two that I have for you here are the first one is skeuomorphism, overrated or underrated?
I think it depends. There's like a older form of it, and then there's a newer form of it. So I guess I'm kind of a fan of the newer version. The older version was a little crazy.
The iOS 6 era
A
where
little
everything.
crazy.
Okay, I get
But,
that.
like, in general, I would say it's underrated. Like, I wouldn't want everything to be like that, but I think it has some really interesting uses. Like, specifically, I don't know if you've ever seen like sound engineering software. I think it's really neat because they usually opt for skeuomorphism. I'm like, that makes sense. It looks like a soundboard. This is
Yeah.
nice. I like
Yeah.
this.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. It still has its practical uses. That I
Yeah.
feel like is another one of the pendulums where it was
Mhm.
like it was everything and then it
Right.
became like nothing because of
Yeah.
flat design. Do you think flat design is overrated or underrated?
A little overrated, I think. Like, if you're like obsessive with flat design, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, let's have a little fun.
Add a little spice to your
Yeah,
design.
like put a little drop shadow on it. Who's gonna know?
I love a drop shadow. I'm a drop shadow defender till the day I die.
Right?
Awesome. Well, very cool. Thank you so much for participating in our overrated, underrated segment. I've got a few questions now for you, just related to how you work, what you do, all of these fun things too. So the very first question is, how is your relationship with your developers, and are there areas for improvement that you see?
Ooh, good question. Right now, my developer friends are like kind of in their own little space. Like I've been mostly working with designers and like business people, those people, the business people. And then and then I do get to talk to engineers, but not like at the level that I used to. Like I'm not in
Mm.
their sprint every day, like saying hi on the Jira board. So I feel like I don't have like a lot of maybe my room for improvement is to talk to them more.
Sure.
Because yeah, right now being that deep in the onion, I don't think so.
There are a few layers
There
out
are a
in
few
this.
little onion rings out.
I love it. I love it. I now all I can picture too when you're saying that is I originally started picturing like a raw onion, and now I'm picturing like a bloomin' onion from Outback Steakhouse, and now I'm
Yeah,
getting hungry.
that's a really good one because it like branches out. And yes, let's go with bloomin' onion.
It's a product design is a bloomin' onion. That's your next
It's a
blog
bloomin'
title.
onion. I want a sticker of that. Product design is a bloomin' onion.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And now I think everybody's hungry. So I think we did a good job.
We did good
And this episode today is sponsored by it. No, I'm just kidding.
job. It's bloomin' onions.
Then we both just start singing that one song from like the Vine. Do you remember? I love it. I love it. Ooh, question for you too. So you brought up the communication aspect of maybe I don't talk to them as much, but how is communication with devs different than communication with other designers?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one for me because like I have a background in doing front end development as well. So I feel kind of sneaky because sometimes I get to like put on my front end developer hat and be like, "No, I'm really a front end developer. You can talk to me." And then be like, "No, I'm a designer. You can talk to me. It's fine." So I play that game a lot, and everybody knows that I play that game, so it's not a secret. But
There you go.
yeah, I would say that like honestly, because I do communicate both ways, the main difference in the way that we communicate is jargon. The things that we want are the same.
Okay. I like that. Still that same concept of same end goal. We're both working towards the same thing, but we
Yeah.
come at it from two different ways.
Yeah, and honestly, like I hear designers say like, why is development so complicated? But when you talk to developers, they wonder why design's so complicated. So we're all just thinking everybody's out here being complicated. Like and it's usually to do with jargon. Like, wait, that's what that means. Oh, well,
Like,
that's
like,
better.
oh,
I
we
get
call
that.
it this in design, but we call it
Yeah,
this in development. Like two different things. I've always said I was like that would be one thing I would love to do for like a Zeppelin hackathon is create like a design to dev translator of like put in this text and it'll spit out like what it means using the jargon for
there
the
you
other
go.
end. But
Make a custom GPT for
yeah,
it.
I think maybe that'll be my next little side project. We'll
That'd be
see. We'll see. Um, Speaking of communication too, and you had mentioned your experience in design systems. How is communication with like your core design system team different than like your communication with users of that design system?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll kind of narrow it down again. We're going back deep into the bloom and onion, right?
Yes.
Because like right, design system team is kind of over here, and then
Mhm.
like we're over here in the onion, right? I feel like
Yep.
I'm from Michigan, and I'm not. I swear I'm not, but I'm like doing the hand thing. Anyway. But um, our communication with our users, which is also like we call them UX practitioners, is kind of our umbrella word for our consumers, or to kind of define who we're servicing. I would say like our goal is to try to have candid conversations with our users and kind of take that and help those like things that make the business work, things that make the projects work into pipelines that also make the things work, because like once you
Yeah.
kind of get that many layers deep, right, it's hard to get them all the way back out. And like people that are out here in the onion in the onion orbit, they don't always have time to talk to everybody, and like we do. So like if we can talk to everybody and kind of help the orbit meet the core, that's what we do.
I love this, and I feel like the Onion talk track is in your future. That you'll build out the NLOCU, like the Noelle Lansford Onion Cinematic Universe, where you just find a way to describe everything in terms of an onion.
I'm
And I
just
think
an
that's beautiful.
onion girl. It's a deep cut.
I love it. I love it. What do you think the role of design systems looks like versus what people outside of the profession thinks that it looks like?
Yeah, I think it's not as cool as it looks. Like, I think it's really cool and it's really nerdy, but I think like when I talk to people and they're like, and they first of all they know what a design system is, and I'm like, I work in design systems. They're like, whoa. And I know. I look at the same 4 pixels for hours. Like, it's not, you don't want this. I had to talk to somebody about a button for several months. Why do you wear? It's not that cool. I like it, but so yeah, I would say yeah, I think it's cool, but it's like maybe that's why I said it was overrated. Where it's really it's got a little hype around it, but like in
Sure.
reality, we're all just out here talking about you should it be an 8 pixel border radius, or are we going for a pill shape? Woo, big decisions.
Not as glamorous as one might think on
Yeah.
the outside. I like that. I appreciate that and can appreciate the honesty behind that too. Of like, look, what we're doing today isn't really that different from what you're doing. Isn't really that different from what
Yeah.
most people are doing too. But it's important work, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that there's more attention being paid to it for sure. With that being said, what do you think the future of design systems looks like in your opinion?
I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I feel like we're in this point where businesses are trying to decide what they want to do with design systems, and we're kind of seeing that across the board. Like some people are really taking off and some people are really scaling back. And I'm interested to see like what the general trend is going to be, because I haven't like picked up on necessarily, like it seems like a lot more companies are investing in them while simultaneously reducing investment in them. And so I think I'm curious to see like maybe next year what that looks like for businesses. But yeah, I don't know. It's like that's like the grandiose, like, whoa, what are designs? You know? But like a more like fun spin is like, what technology is, what are we going to do next as far as like innovation in the design system space? I think people are like, I was talking about this with a group the other week. I'm just kind of starting to call design systems modern UI. Like this is how you build modern UI. And I'm curious to see like if that's because like it's becoming more of a mature field. And instead of having to explain what a design system every time is, just to be able to say like, we build modern UI, we're the modern UI team. We design it, we build it, we ship it, you know? And like I'm curious to see if that could like grow into, you know, more investment in design in general.
Yeah, that's really exciting that you bring that up because I just saw a post the other day about how somebody built this integration with Figma plus GPT-4o that was like based on, they fed it their design system and based on a PRD, it was able to create mock-ups
Yeah,
of what that could look like using the design system. So I'm curious to see, you know, like, will, like you said, it's modern UI, will it just become the building blocks of everything? Is that how everything is going to shift towards that? Like, will we continue to see custom
right.
instances, you know?
Like I kind of think of design systems at this point as like the theory behind, like when you talk about development, right? Like you're like, okay, you can go to school for that and have all this theory about like how to create, you know, databases and whatever it is that you want to create. Or like you can go to design, you're like the theory of design, and you like, you know, get brainwashed. And then, like I feel like modern UI, like design systems is the theory, it is the textbook for how to do it, and then you've got to make it work for your situation.
I love that. I love it. With that being said, too, do you think that design systems are going to be seen as sort of like the connector between design and dev? Like, is this truly the future? You said it's, you know, modern UI. Is that also going to impact the development side as much too? You know, you've got a unique experience and take on it, considering you've done both.
Yeah, I think I tend to be like a really optimistic designer and a really cynical developer. So, like the way that I feel a lot of times when like, you know, like this is my spicy take, okay? But like it's that development has had all of these capabilities pretty much the whole time. Like there's definitely been a lot of innovation within development, but like the kind of things that like designers are like, we can now do if statements. I'm like, yes. Guess what? Guess who's been doing that? And there's just so many more things like that that I feel like I would love to see designers embracing developer capabilities that they might not have in their own tools yet.
Mm.
So learning how to leverage things that don't exist in their like kind of plane, but like, you know, when you design, you're making stickers of the thing that's over there anyway. So that's
Yeah.
how I think of it. And really complicated stickers. So yeah, I want to see more people kind of integrate that into the way that they work.
I love that. Final question for you. Do you think designers need to learn how to code?
uh, Need is a strong word, and this is like the debate of like the industry from however long this industry has been around, right? Like
Yes.
everybody
Yeah.
wants to know. um I don't know, like I did, and it made my life easier, so I recommend it.
I love that. It's interesting you say that too because a lot of the people that we've talked to have share similar sentiments of that. I don't think I've ever gotten a direct like yes or no. It's always been like I have and it's helped me out a lot. Like anything to encourage more collaboration between design and dev, and like you
Yeah,
said, just get more of that developer thinking of like, okay, how do we make sure that this is going to be functional and how do
yeah.
I start to help out with that?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you are a designer that is a core contributor to like shipping a product or a feature, knowing fundamentally how that feature works is really, really invaluable, especially when you're dealing with defining a scope. It makes it a lot easier to talk to your developers about scope specifically, and it kind of takes a wave of anxiety off of development teams when you know what you're asking them to do potentially, when you just move this over here versus moving this over there. And so I think that that's great. But if you're like in a more like, I've also talked to a lot of designers that aren't connected to a development pipeline, which like in the world of design systems sounds kind of crazy. But like for me, I'm just like, yeah, if your thing is like you're in an organization where you do designs and you test the designs and you're doing all these things and then you hand it off and then a team might pick it up and you're working in that more innovation kind of space, you might not need to know how to code because like you don't work with the tech team that's going to build it.
Wow. Okay. There we go. I really
That's a long-winded answer.
no,
It depends.
I think that is so funny. My background is working with SEO people, and that was like that's their go-to phrase for anything. It's like, hey, will this increase ranking? Hey, if I do this, will that happen? They're like,
Yeah.
it depends.
Depends.
It depends, of
Right.
course.
Eventually, yeah, like I feel like design systems people are the same way. Like we just all kind of end up being the weather man, where you're just like, oh, it might rain. I don't know. Like it says it's on the radar. It's on the road now. It might happen.
I love the analogies that you're bringing to the field. We've got the onion analogy of the layers. We've got the weatherman design, the weather people in design systems. I think this is fantastic. But thank you very much. I love that discussion. Love that. We had that is all the questions that I had for you. I have a few rapid fire questions, and then of course we have our fun activity to wrap up the show. Some rapid fire questions for you. If you had to guess, how many rectangles have designers created ever?
See, this is where the design system problem comes in, where it's like, what's a rectangle? How do you think about rectangles? What's a rectangle to you? I don't know, like a lot.
A lot's a good answer. That's a very good answer. And I appreciate the weather person, like not like what is the obscurity of the weather person answer? Like a lot, more than one,
Several.
at least 10. And I love that. If you could describe your design process in just 3 words, what would those 3 words be to you?
Oh, I mean, like I said, I've been working on process a lot, so I have to think about it. I would say nonlinear, adaptive, and user-driven.
Ooh, I like it. And we're hearing from the judges, they will accept the hyphenated answers as one word, so it does count. So thank you very much. If you could describe your design system in just one word, what would that one word be?
Fun.
I like it. I like it. Bring fun back. I'm always a big proponent of that. And then very last question for us is, if you could describe yourself in one word, what would that word be?
Dorky.
Fantastic. I love it. I think those are the most fun people. So I'm happy to hear it. Well, thank you for answering all of our questions. We've now moved into our very final segment of our show here today, which I so affectionately like to call So You Think You're a Designer. It's where we put your design skills to the test to recreate the Zeppelin logo using a website-based Microsoft Paint.
I'm excited. This will be fun. I didn't practice.
That's even better. Even better.
Give me the option of practicing. You're like, here's a whole day to practice. And I said,
Hey, you know what? You know what? I appreciate the just winging it. Like I prefer that. I think it's better. So so feel free to share your screen, and as soon as you put your first brush stroke down on the canvas, we will start your time, and you have 2 minutes.
Okay, let me set this up real quick.
Lovely. For everybody who's wondering, the website is JS Paint. paint.app in case you were feeling a wave of nostalgia and wanting to test out Microsoft Paint again. We have 2 comments on LinkedIn as well too while we get this set up. The first one was from Aaron Cochran. This was back originally in the conversation when we were talking about the pendulum swinging, and it was the 2 arrows pointing at each other emoji too. So I'm like, all right, perfect, we got that. And then Connor is craving a bloomin' onion. So I think we're doing our job.
I love it. Great. Alrighty. Okay, I'm gonna do that thing where I think I'm gonna share my screen.
Fantastic. We can see it. It looks great.
Sweet. All right. Okay. It's when I do the first.
Yep. Your first brush, your first pixel placed on the canvas will start your type.
What's the difference between the pencil and the paintbrush? Let's find out. All right. All right. Here you go.
And
wow.
We're off.
Okay. This is going okay.
That was like a really clean connection of the line. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. We're not fooling around today. Now here's the question. If I do the paint bucket, it's smart. Oh, we're killing it. How do we pick more color? Wait, how much time do I have to do this?
You have 2 minutes. So right now you've got about 1:30 left.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. I need more colors. Wait, there's a panel called colors. Edit colors. Okay. Define custom colors. Oh yeah, here we go. I need a slightly darker orange.
This is good. This is fantastic.
No, it's the same orange. What happened?
You've got about a minute left.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're going to do some minimum viable product thinking, and we are going to make our little guys first. Our little friends. Maybe they're not guys. We don't know. I'm from the Midwest, so everything is a guy.
Gotta get the tail fin. Love it.
That was crazy. Let's start again.
You've got 30 seconds left.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Okay. That's epic.
I love it.
And I think that it needs a smiley face.
Oh, yay. Oh, beautiful. And I believe that wraps us up right on time. I am very happy that you chose to what was that called? Like anthropomorphize it, where you like bring it to life. You personify it. It's beautiful. So thank you very much.
It looks like a bee.
It's a very beautiful bee. I love it. Thank you very much. I'm very, very excited. This is like truly my favorite part of the shows, where I get to see these things. So thank you very much for participating. But that wraps us up for today. So I just wanted to thank you so much again, Noelle, for your time today, for sharing all of your wonderful insights, especially the onion analogies with us. I think these are extremely helpful. But if you'd like to say any last words, any last things, please feel free to do so.
Any last words? This is getting serious. No, thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun. And yeah, I will see you around in the Zeppelin community.
All right.
Hanging out. Come say hi.
Right. Sounds good. I'm a big fan of the Apple reactions. I use them like all the time.
Nice. I love that. I turned mine off because it backfired one too many times in a meeting. So yes,
the thumbs up usually gets people because it like recognizes it even if you have your arms crossed and your thumbs just like down here. It's like, oh, got it. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. See you next week.